Hi, my name's Nirvana and I want to share my story with you guys. So I wanted to bring more attention to a condition that I suffered from, and I want to bring attention to similar conditions like this as well that you wouldn't know that people are suffering from on a day-to-day basis. So in 2016 I was told that I had a tumour on my pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is located in your head, kind of close to your brain and behind your eyes, and the pituitary gland is the main function of a lot of your hormones inside your body. So that can be things like the reproduction system inside your body. The first time I kind of noticed that there was something wrong was when I stopped actually getting my period. And I, for many years, had problems with all of this. All throughout my teen years, I had troubles. Also, throughout my whole life, I'd always been the chubby kid. So I was bullied in school, I was bullied in high school, I was always the bigger kid. I can't ever remember a time where I wasn't. And that was just something that I learnt to deal with in my life day to day. I remember the one thing that brought this to my attention was my sister was getting married and I was one of her bridesmaids, and we got these dresses for us. They were our bridal dresses, and over a period of about 6 months I had gone up 3 dress sizes. That was a really disappointing moment in my life. I didn't know what I had done to gain so much weight, and I couldn't explain it. I hadn't changed anything in my lifestyle for me to have gained that much weight. I went to a doctor and I remember explaining to her how I'd gained so much weight, and it was probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. She walked me out of her office and she marched me out to a dietitian and said, "You need to change your lifestyle, otherwise this is going to continue to happen." And that's just not something, when you're a young woman, that's just not something that, you want to be told that you're not doing it right. And that's how I felt. That's how I felt all through my young 20s. I'd gone to many doctors and no one could explain what was wrong with me, and I didn't feel like I could even explain it to anyone. I didn't think that there would be anyone that could help me. So I went to one doctor, and at this point I hadn't had a period in about 8 months now. And the doctor sat me down and he goes, "I think you might have a tumour." And I was like, that's really strange, because that's not something that I would think would stop you from receiving your period. And he sent me for a CT scan. And I remember the day that I got the phone call from the doctor's office, and they called me and they're like, "We need you to come in to get your results for your CT scan." I'd actually booked a doctor's appointment to receive my results the following day, the next day, because I had work that afternoon. So I said to them, "Oh, I've actually got to go into work. Can I just come in tomorrow to get my results? I've got an appointment anyway." And they're like, "No, we need to see you now." So I made a phone call to my work and I was like, "Just to let you know, the doctors are calling me into the office. I've got to go in and get some results. They think that I might have a tumour." So I go down to the doctors and the doctor sits me down and he's like, "You have a tumour on your pituitary gland." At that moment I didn't know how to react. I didn't know what to do or what to say or where to even go from then. So I called my work after the doctor's appointment and I said to my boss, "So the doctor's just told me I have a tumour." And my boss is like, "Are you okay? Are you okay to come into work?" And I said to my boss, "I'm still going to come into work. Nothing's changed. I had the tumour yesterday, I have the tumour today. The only difference was that I now knew that I had this tumour." I think when I found out about the tumour, it wasn't a disappointment and I wasn't sad. I was kind of relieved, because for so many years I had been facing issues on a day-to-day basis and no one could explain to me why or why these things were happening to my body. So it was a relief in a way, because I now knew what was causing these issues. I had been tested for so many different things. I had been tested for thyroid, and they just told me, you need to change your lifestyle. It's you need to change. And now I had reason to why these things were happening to my body. The next few months went quite quick. So I had surgery to have the tumour removed. Shortly after I had the tumour removed, I did lose quite a lot of weight. So the tumour was one of the reasons that I had gained so much weight, because it controls a lot of your hormones in your body. That was the reason I was putting on weight. So it was such a big relief to just feel normal, and I could go on to live my life. I remember one thing the doctor said to me is, why did you never come in and see me about your headaches? And I was like, I never thought that they were anything serious. I just, that was just something I put up with. If I had a headache, I would just take some Panadol and brush it off and then go about my day. I now know you have to take these things a lot more serious. But also, it was hard when people weren't listening to me in the first place. So for me to have gone to the doctor about a headache, would they have listened? I don't know. After I had the surgery, I had a keyhole surgery, and they removed the tumour. I was told that the tumour was probably more likely to grow back because they couldn't get all of it out. They couldn't remove the full tumour. So they predicted that it would probably grow back within the next 5 years. And then when it does grow back, they would have to repeat the surgery again further down the track. Because I was at such a young age, they didn't want to do radiation on me because I was too young, and they didn't want to affect my body at such a young age. So they felt that doing the surgery again would be better for me in the long run, instead of exposing my body to radiation. So after that, I went on to live my life. 2018, I was living over in London. I decided that I wasn't going to let this stop me from doing what I wanted to do. So I went traveling. I continued to do my day-to-day routine, but also living with such a rare and strange condition, I had to have regular appointments with the hospital. So I had to have constant MRI scans just to monitor it and make sure that it wasn't growing back at a rapid speed, and just to make sure that my body was functioning as normal and nothing was out of whack. So while I was over in London, I continued to see a doctor over there. I signed up for a local GP, and I was visiting a doctor regularly over there. They then said that I need to go see a specialist in the hospital, an endocrine doctor, which I did over in London. And when I was over there, they did the regular tests over there for me, the same ones that I did over here, to find out that I did have the tumour. And then while I was over in London, so far away from my family, they said that I had a condition called Cushing's disease. That one, I remember when they told me, it was really hard because I was all the way on the other side of the world, away from my family, and all I wanted to do was talk to my mum. So when I was in London and I was told that I had Cushing's disease, it was quite clear that I needed to return back to Australia. I had to have surgery to treat the Cushing's disease quite urgently. I had to have the tumour removed once again because that had come back, and that was what was causing Cushing's disease. So I returned back to Australia in November 2019. That was right before the COVID pandemic, which did throw a spanner in the works with everything. So when I returned back to Australia, I had doctor's appointments, many doctor's appointments. I see multiple specialists, and multiple tests were done to try and find out what was wrong with me. They were pretty stunned that I had Cushing's disease and that it was missed the first time round, because Cushing's is quite a rare condition. And that's kind of why I want to bring light to this condition, because it is something that does get missed and misdiagnosed, as it did in my case. A lot of people probably don't even know that they do have Cushing's disease. This condition, you can look at someone and they might seem okay, they might seem fine to you. You might just look at them and think, well, they have an unhealthy lifestyle, but that might not be the case. And that's why I want to draw attention to this condition, because that's what happened in my case. Cushing's disease makes you gain a lot of weight, which happened to me. When I returned to Australia, I was 139 kilos, and there was no explanation to that other than this condition. It makes you run down and fatigue. You have no energy. You don't want to see people. You pretty much just shut everyone out, because I didn't want people to see me like this, with this condition, and I had no energy. I just didn't want to do anything. So it got to July 2020, and I had the surgery done. The tumour was removed. The doctor's decision after that was I would also have to have the radiation done, because if the tumour was to then return, it was likely that the Cushing's wouldn't leave. And we needed to get rid of Cushing's disease, because it just takes a massive toll on anyone's body, Cushing's disease. So after the treatment was done, the surgery was over and that was all cleared. I had the radiation done 2021. I think it was in the end of January or start of February. It was just a one-sitting treatment, radiation done, and that was called Gamma Knife, the Gamma Knife treatment. Gamma Knife. They're a lovely team up in Brisbane. They are one of the only machines in a public hospital, the PA hospital, and they're an outstanding team. They made sure that I was very much looked after in the hospital. But the Gamma Knife treatment was probably one of the hardest treatments that I've had to go through with this whole condition. That was really, really difficult. It was so painful. I had to have a cage put over my head, and that was the most painful part, having to bolt the cage onto my head to make sure that my head was secure throughout the radiation. That was a day treatment, and then that was it. From then, no more surgery, hopefully. Gamma Knife radiation is done, and from that point on, I made changes to how I did things. So I've just gone on living a healthy, active life. And since having the tumour removed and having the radiation done, I still do have my follow-up appointments with my hospital team. I see the endocrine team in the Gold Coast Hospital, and I see the Gamma Knife team, PA Hospital, and the neurosurgeon team at the Gold Coast Hospital as well. And I have repeat MRI scans, and so far to this day, everything seems to be on track and going very well. Since I've had the treatment, I have dropped down to 112 kilos. So that's how much weight I've lost. Well, a lot of weight. And that's simply because they removed my tumour. So I just really wanted to draw to people's attention the condition of Cushing's, and that there are people out there that suffer this condition on a day-to-day basis and you wouldn't even know. Cushing's disease isn't the only condition that people live with on a day-to-day basis that is similar to that, and that's why I wanted to bring it to people's attention, because we're too quick to judge people. We might see someone walking down the street and they might be bigger than us, or they might be skinnier than us, but who are we to judge them? We don't know their story, and until you know their story, you can't say anything. So if you can be one thing, be kind, because they might just be like me. They might have Cushing's, or they could have something else. You just never know. So just don't judge a book by its cover. Thank you.